I just appreciate you having me on and talking.
Quite all right. You got some good stuff there. I'd like to hear about it, and I'll get you out so you can do your family stuff.
Yeah, in fact, intermittently you might hear my daughter screaming because she's not enjoying her math right now. Okay, I think it's dead.
Sorry about that. Somebody ought to break it to her. Math isn't as fun as the press gives it.
Well, yeah, they're doing Common Core, which I have no idea what that is. It's just like crazy concept. I can't even imagine like having this pandemic without us being able to do things like this, or even kids teaching school. It's kind of ironic that it happened at this time, you know.
In some way, it's magic. It's a miracle that you can do this kind of stuff in this day and age. You couldn't do this before. There would have been some other way to get your point across, but this is nice to do it this way.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with COVID, you know, you can still connect in this day and age. So
yeah,
great.
As far as, you know, from here to here.
Yeah, I know. The same. I feel the same way. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. How you doing, everybody? My name is Dean Olson. I am a songwriter, radio host, and producer from Orange County, California. And I'm really just an average artist, average guy. But when I get behind this microphone, I become the StrongWriter on the radio, helping songwriters and artists keep musically fit through my show. And the way I love to do it is through faith and hope and encouragement, by taking in the stories told to me by my wonderful guests, and by learning from the best in the business and passing it along to you. And now I have a wonderful guest here who's a pretty fantastic artist, and he's got a kind of an interesting story that I think that it's going to tug at your heartstrings a little bit, but hey, it happens to everybody. This guy's name is Brad Brooks. I'm going to read something off here since I just confessed to him, I didn't really write an intro for him, but he is he's from the Bay Area, it says here, and he is making a triumphant return with a very direct, soulful record of his life, and that's what got me. He found some success with with something called Harmony of Passing Light back in about 8 years ago, 2012. That's a long time now when you think about it.
Yeah. And
he's got a brand new one called God Save the City, which has already been released, I believe, last week or this week. And it's really getting some attention, especially by me. And how do you like that, Brad? That's not much of an intro for somebody who's as talented as you and has put out some great work. Let me introduce everybody, Brad Brooks.
Hey, no, that's a great intro. I love it.
Very nice to meet you. Been watching some videos of you and that hat and other hats, and you got yourself a pretty cool look with the glasses that probably, like myself, you have to wear the glasses. So
that is a fact.
You got to make some style with what you have. And I'm glad. Even Bob Dylan said, you know, he used to put together. He stood in the mirror for a long time trying to put together a decent look. So, you know, let's not kid ourselves. We gotta have some kind of nice image, right?
It's something. I mean, it's pretty organic for me, but yeah, it's I don't know. My hair got longer during COVID and popped a hat on. So
this is a different. The hair has been different too. A lot of people growing their hair longer, and it's not because they wanted to exactly, but they don't want to cut it because it's hard to do it.
Yeah, saves money on haircuts. So
yeah, but hey, I like the backdrop. Looks very natural. You in a living room or in your bedroom, or what is this?
No, this is kind of my music space, my writing room.
Great, yeah.
Where I get to hang out. I have a piano here and some guitars, and then I have just a couple things. This thing in the back is actually kind of interesting. My mom, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and my mom, we lived there like in the 70s, and my mom. My dad was a hotel manager, and at the hotel in Tucson, there Johnny Cash was staying there because he was filming the Johnny Cash show like in 1971 or something like that. And so my mom went to the taping at Old Tucson, and they had this little billboard thing on the back that kind of says "Rollin'," you know, and has all the information on the back, and it had broken off, and they just kind of tossed it on the dirt. And so she kind of asked if she could have it, and she took it. And so they gave it to her, and now it's in my little archive collection here. So
nice. So it's an authentic memento. It's not something that you find in one of those little stores where they made it and made a whole bunch of them. This is a real thing. That's a real deal there.
Yes. She told me she was allowed to take it, but I don't know. She might have just taken it too.
Well, just between you and me, I believe her. That'd be fine. What's your favorite? No problem with that. I while you're doing that, I'll drink too, because I'll drink.
Yeah, I'm a big hydrator. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, here, now you're up in what part of the Bay Area are you? Like right in the town of San Francisco, or somewhere outskirts?
No, I'm in Oakland.
You're in Oakland. Okay.
Yeah, I'm across the bridge in Oakland, and I've been here since I moved to San Francisco in 1990, and then I've been in Oakland since like 2003.
Okay. Where are you from originally? Arizona or some other place you were talking about?
Yeah, Tucson. Tucson was really where I first started my musical journey. And then as a kid, I grew up in Oklahoma and Memphis. I lived for a while as a kid too. So kind of bounced around. My dad was in the hotel business, and we seemed to move every year and a half.
No kidding. So you had the traveling life early on, sort of. So you're used to it. Helps when you want to tour, right? You know, at least when you could tour. Exactly.
Yeah. Hopefully, man, who knows when that's going to happen? I know we're all just kind of waiting for a vaccine or just, the numbers to go down. They're starting to creep up a little bit out here. And I'm seeing in Europe where they're starting to creep up more even. So we'll see. We'll get through it. Music will get us through it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Nothing wrong with being scared. I think that's just human nature, but can't live your life hiding in a hole either. So, there are ways to probably, we'll figure it out. If it takes a long time, there's got to be a way for somebody to pick up the flag and say, we're going to, we'll do it this way. And others, you can follow me too. Right now we're getting the internet to do our, people will do online shows and everything. It just isn't the same though, is it?
It is not.
I've seen pictures of you and videos of you performing. You got to love performing before a crowd and getting that love back, right? Isn't that what it's all about in some regard?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That connection. You just can't recreate it. In this streaming way. In fact, I'm trying to, with this record coming out, we're trying to figure out a way to do an interesting stream. If we have to, but also maybe make it so people can kind of be far away and see it. There's a Port of Alameda, which is not far here. There's an outside area that we filmed some of the video for God Save the City. And there is an area where I could set up the band outside, and then across this little, maybe 70 yards away, people could park there and kind of watch. So I'm trying to figure out a way how to either record us playing the show or to do a live stream of it, because we could be far enough apart, but then we could play a lot of the records. So
right.
But I've seen some good ones, but my attention for them doesn't last that long,
Yeah, those drive-in concerts seem to have they're popular, but it's weird. You're basically trying to reinvent what you really want is to have, an arena or, a club full of people who are, hanging on your every song and then loving you back. And that's just, there really isn't much to substitute for that, but I'm glad that people are trying. I mean, that's all you can do right now is to figure out new ways, hopefully.
And I was going to say, and I think it's just that connection, that community of like being together and being with not only my band and people who come to my shows, but also like the other bands that you're playing with and supporting. We're all, it's a friend of mine has been doing an outdoor thing in front of his house in Alameda. He's been doing it every Friday since March, and we did that, and it was really fun. But that's more of a grassroots thing and seeing some of that. But it was fun, but it's still not the same of being like in people's faces and and just letting the sweat fly off, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I've been seeing it's like these. You're talking about backyard or open with people actually there physically.
Yeah. This was actually a front yard. My friend had taped
front
it
yard
off
concert.
Yeah. And he's been having full bands and streaming it, and it's been a cool thing. I think it's been really good for him. He's a full-time musician and has played in a bunch of different bands, and so it was good. And he and I, his name is Rocha, and we played. He was in the band Four Non Blondes for a time, and we were in a band out here in the '90s called Rocha, and so it's been nice to kind of. It's been cool to see him kind of do his thing, and also it brings the community together too. People are wanting to see music on a Friday night, and they're wearing masks and staying apart, and they're policing themselves, which is great.
Good, yeah. People are smart. You give them credit; they'll do the right thing. And not everything has to be a disaster, because if you do it right, and
right, flip a coin.
Yeah, but these house concerts have been going on for a long time. This is just like an extension of that now. You're just doing it outside and on the lawn and everything. So
true.
That seems to be that's as close as you get to those little outdoor things in the park or whatever, where you could get a sense of community. That stuff goes all over when you're in the city. Oakland, I don't know so much. San Francisco, I've seen outdoor things that just sort of spring up, and that's nice to see. That's what they're famous for in the city. My son lives up in that area, so I think when I started to ask you earlier is asking where you're from. So Oakland. So how have the fires, the air quality, how's that affecting you up there? Because I know it was tough for a while, but even though it's under control, it's still smoky up there, right?
You know what? Now it's actually not. We had some really high winds going. Maybe Saturday and Sunday. Super high and dry winds, and as far as I know, nothing really sparked this time, which is great. So Good. Actually, we're pretty clear out here as now. But there was a time where, I don't know, maybe weeks ago, where we had just the craziest day I've ever seen in my life. It was orange outside and the sun never came out. It was literally just like the clouds and the smoke just blacked out the whole thing. So I was out in San Francisco during that time in the afternoon, and it was noon, and it could have been like 10 p.m. It was that dark, but it was orange. It was so weird. And so I ended up shooting some of that footage that's in the God Save the City video. I was able to add a lot of kind of current stuff to that video before we put it out. But that was one of them. It was just so bizarre. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever seen a day like that. It was like being on Mars or something.
It did feel, it's very surreal. You don't expect to see that every day. And even when there are fires going on, I don't see that type of tint to the sky. And it's just weird. My son was taking pictures of, or his wife did anyway, looking, down the road, and I said, "Wow, that just like gray and drab and orange at the same time." I said, "Is that what it's like all day long?" And they said, "Kinda, yeah. You're just waiting. You can barely see the sun out there." Yeah.
Yeah. It was like that. It was like it was dark out, but the sky was orange.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, that was a weird one. But I guess what happened was that the smoke was kind of above the fog layer. And so that's kind of what happened, because there was a fog layer, but it was above. Usually it's kind of below, but that was a weird one.
Yeah. And that's in Vallejo, not too far away from you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's but I guess I bring up the weather because we're experiencing that. If you saw the news, we had a big spark up out here down in Irvine. So it's
I did.
Yeah, that's not too far away. So every day since Monday, since those high winds happened, we had that high wind on Monday, and it sparked it, and we're getting ash, and this is becoming a habit. I don't like it when this the fires do happen, and it's just the air quality. When I have to talk, or if you're a singer, it just happens to. It can affect you. You got to really protect your voice. You don't want to breathe in any of that stuff and hurt yourself either. And there's something else with your throat that we'll probably talk about in a second here, because that's a big deal. But listen, let me compliment you. God Save the City is a pretty decent piece of work. I love the songs on that. Wasn't what I was expecting because I'm hearing so much, folky. This got a nice hard edge to it. And is this the kind of stuff that you're known for when you're playing in front of people and recording albums?
It's something that's always kind of been in me and hinted at in my past records. But it's something that I kind of started with. I started being a solo artist in like 2000. And so I'd been a rock singer and more on those. I've always had kind of a soulful kind of style. Like I love like Steve Marriott and Frankie Miller is like one of my favorite singers, Scottish guy from the 60s. And Paul Rogers and Rod Stewart, kind of that school, I guess you would say. And so it's always been in there. But in my writing, I wanted to kind of bring that out more with this record. And also just, it was just something that kind of needed to be, that as far as what it was saying, it lent itself to that style. I feel like there's always a song in my past record that hints to that. And there was one song on Harmony Passing Light called Spinner and the Spun, and it's very much in a similar vein, and I really liked it, and it's fun to play live, and you could see the response to it. So I felt like I wanted to try to write more in that vein and to kind of, and also just to discover the soul side that I've always had. People like Todd Rundgren and Daryl Hall are also people that have always been kind of in here, And so I wanted to have the songs, bring that out. And also with my band that I've been playing with now for 8 years, I really wanted to record it live and immediate with them. Not a lot of takes, band in a room and just playing. And if you add that, plus there's a woman named Vicki Randall who's been playing with us, who was touring with Mavis Staples for the past 10 years. And before that, she was on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno for 10 years before that. And she is just a badass, and she is legit. And so adding her to the mix just lent itself to that
adding her voice, or is she playing an instrument? What are you talking about?
She sings backgrounds and she also plays percussion.
Great. So she's on this album too. I hear a woman singing a lot on these tracks.
Yeah. There's two of them, Vicki and Laura Lee Christensen, but together I call them the Screaming Angels, and they are a big part of the stylistic portion of it that I was moving towards.
Oh, good. Laura Lee and Vicki. Yeah, some nice adds a nice brighter tone to some of those tracks that when you're playing, I go, wow, hey, nice to hear that. There's another voice in the mix, and it makes it sound a little sweeter. Might even soften the subject matter. I don't know. Sometimes these can get kind of heavy, but you're pretty poetic and lyrically. I mean, I don't criticize lyrics too much. They are what they are, and a lot of times people will listen to it and like Hotel California. I use that example. I got a different interpretation of what that's all about. So. Have you ever found that when you write a song that any feedback from other people saying, "Oh, I had no idea it was about that," or something, And,
yeah, I mean,
or is your stuff pretty straightforward?
No, I think that happens a lot. I think that I always think it's important to. I mean, for me, I feel like I know across the years I've gotten more personal with my writing because of what I've kind of went through, and I think that's helped. I used to be much more of a story writer, where I would write stories, songs, and I think things in the my last two records have become a little more personal with a little bit of veil to it. But I definitely feel like that people need to have their own interpretation of it. I always like. Like REM, like Michael Stipe, like his, you didn't always know what he was saying, but you kind of could feel it, you could kind of feel what was going on. And I always like to hear more what people hear, what they think the words are than what they are. And we're all, have done malapropisms or whatever for different lyrics that you hear.
Right. And misheard lyric stuff. Yeah.
That's always the best. So, also, Bob Dylan's great for that. He doesn't give you any inkling about what it is. There's a lot of coding involved and you know, it's the kind of fun part with his stuff. It's so heady and Shakespearean but he doesn't give you a thing about, like, you know, it's very rare when you get any kind of hint.
Yeah, and I heard that if you ask him about it, he'll play games with you and try to try to lead you down a path, and goes, see, I thought you'd think that. It's not really about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I heard he in interviews, I would sort of get that from him. He just like, you know, don't take it so seriously. I'm trying not to, you know.
True.
The audience sometimes will take it more seriously than the artist will. So it's not. Music is funny that way, you know.
No, and it's interpretive. You know, each person interprets their own life experience, like within the song. You know, if you're able to get them to that point, you know, where they're you know, where they're believing what they're hearing. You know, I think that's a very important thing as a singer, that you have to believe what you're singing, and people can pick it out, you know, in a heartbeat if you're not.
Mm-hmm. So what is God Save the City? That song, and you made a video, which is pretty cool. It's nice, high energy, and you had a concept for that as well. But what is God Save the City all about? I'm trying to, I'm not being obtuse either. I'm trying to figure out what you're actually singing about. Yeah,
it's really just it's my observation of being in Oakland and have lived in San Francisco, and just kind of watching the wealth displacement and seeing gentrification happen, and people getting pushed out, and just seeing first San Francisco change from what it used to be into, and then how Oakland is dealing with it too. Because even myself, I was in San Francisco and moved to Oakland because I couldn't afford to live in San Francisco. And then now Oakland is seeing some of that happen. And with COVID, the homeless situation is just gone. It's so heartbreaking because, you know, people just are just not knowing where to go. And so they're basically just, you know, there's these big camps that are happening, and then the next day they're cleared out, or at some point. In fact, even in the video, I shot some footage of a homeless camp, and I was there the next day, and I drove by and they were cleaning it out. So we did a little juxtaposition of that in the shot. But you know, the song it's kind of a shot across the bow to people who aren't just understanding that there are people that are in need, you know, and especially now. And so it's a little kind of firing up the troops, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't even have to be about Oakland. There are a lot of cities going through this kind of, you know,
well, exactly,
kind of turmoil, you know.
For sure. And obviously it's, you know, the title is a little change of God Save the Queen, the Sex Pistols song. And there's a little bit of, you know, Street Fighting Man in there, the Stones song, which I love.
Yeah.
And the, you know, having the Screaming Angels in there too. And then the cherry on the top was having Ralph Carney play saxophone on it. And Ralph was a Bay Area legend. Played on Tom Waits stuff, even B-52s early on, but he was a very avant-garde horn player who played all kinds of stuff. He was just an amazing guy, a real genius, and played with Kronos Quartet and did all this stuff. And so for this song, I just kept, you know, wanting to have him in here. And when we recorded it, I got a hold of him, and he ended up doing it. And then shortly after, he moved to Portland. And then within a year, unfortunately, he passed away. So I was just so honored that we were able to get him on there, and he just kicks ass, man. He's the horn scronking God on the horn at the end. And that just really, that song just sends it off into, you know, you're just driving faster by that point on that song.
Good. You got got a nice memento out of it with him. So
for sure,
something to remember him by.
God save the city from a falling fate. When you thought with progress turned to hate. Oh, space removed and folks on the run. Can't afford the living when my living is done. Oh, I sang it like an
Yeah, you mentioned the Stones feel. I kind of got that feeling now. Maybe I'm just the way it. Why Do You Hurt? Kind of sounded like a little bit of a Mick Jagger, Beast of Burden type of feel to it. Even though at least in the verses, when it got to the chorus, it changed a little bit. But I mean, I like the influences that you carry into your music. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's funny. So that song was really thinking about that Keith Richards' first solo record, which I feel like is like the last great Stones record. I just love that record. It's so great. And just hearing Keith sing, and it's got so much just mojo on it, and so we were thinking about that. And so the strange thing about that song is when I lived in Tucson, I used to deliver bottled water, right? I was like the Arrowhead delivery guy. And one day I went and I ran and knocked on the door, and the guy that answered was this guy named Robert Tepper. Now, Robert Tepper is a singer who wrote No Easy Way Out, the big Rocky Force soundtrack song.
Right.
And he wrote another song with this guy, Benny Mardones, called Into the Night, which is like an interesting song because it's like a 3-time hit. It came around like 3 different times.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. At least the two I remember, 1980 and then 89, it came back.
Yeah.
It's weird how things work. It's like the Fleetwood Mac thing right now. Something strikes a chord and then it goes up the charts again, But
it was so weird. So I ended up meeting Robert just randomly, and we became friends, and I would play him stuff, and he gave me just a lot of confidence. He's like, you're a really excellent singer, and no one had told me that, and so I would play him stuff. He was working on his second record after that, and we just became really good friends. And so in like 1989, I was in a band called Pollo Elastico, which is like a punk funk band, more kind of a rock thing. Yeah. But Robert's a great, hooky writer. And so we wrote this song called Why Do You Hurt? And it was very kind of Todd Rundgren kind of style, percussive piano. And so we demoed it, and I had it, and I really loved the song, but it didn't quite fit into what I was doing at the time. Right. And so I always loved this song. And then in working on this record, and it was on like a cassette, and I couldn't find the cassette to save my life. So when we're working on this record, I was, looking for songs in my catalog, and also just, new songs. And I was playing the band something, and then I started singing this song, and they were like, well, why aren't we doing that song? And I was like, well, because I gotta find it. So I ended up like finding a lyric sheet and a chord chart. And then we got together and did it more in a kind of an Al Green kind of a style, and so we recorded it and really liked how it came out, and we started playing it live and seeing that people were responding to it, and that's how it came out. But it's an older song that's just got kind of reworked, so it's so bizarre how that kind of thing works.
We'll draw to each other with a need to discover. Call it love, then you push me aside. So my overreaction, self-protection, never look for the truth inside. So afraid of yourself and so insecure. It's confusion and hurt you tonight. On a tightrope of emotion, so unaware. You've got to look to yourself and decide. Why do you hurt the people you love, who want to see you happy? Is it careful planning or lack of trust? When left no fingerprints. Undetected wrong glances, bad circumstances. I just don't believe what you say, baby. Why do you hurt the people you love, who want to see you happy? Is it careful planning, a lack of trust, that makes you feel this way? Why do you hurt the people you love, who don't deserve your rage? They'll figure it out, girl, what you're made of, before they all go away. Why do you hurt? Oh, say yeah, yeah. The people that you love. All the people that you love. Why do you people? Why do you people? All I say yeah, yeah, yeah. All I say yeah,
Well, it's nice that something came out of it. Yeah, that's a good song. Yeah. So Robert Tepper had something to do with this too.
He co-wrote it with me.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty cool. And it's
and-
go ahead. I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. You say it before I tell you what I was going to say about Robert. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Robert and I have been friends ever since, and he's been one of my best friends and a mentor to me throughout my whole musical journey. You know?
Yeah. What I was going to say is that just by accident, I ran across a video of you and he on stage performing "No Easy Way Out," and I was like,
Mhm.
I immediately clicked on it because I love that song. So I said, "There's Brad right there," and let me check that out. I didn't realize that you guys have a history. You go back farther than that performance, but man, he's whatever year that was, a couple years ago. And it was he still got his voice, man. He sounds great.
He sounds awesome. In fact, he just had a new record that came out last year called "Better Than the Rest," and it really was kind of taking off again. And he was starting to tour a little bit, and then COVID happened. So I know that he'll be out, especially in Europe. I think he'll be out again. But he has a really big fan base. In fact, that song you're talking about was for my last record, Harmony of Passing Light. We did a live recreation of the record in Coast Studios, which is a place out here in San Francisco. And so I asked Robert to open up, and he did. And then we did like kind of I guess a Brad Brooks version of his song with strings and that, and we put it up, and his fans just found it. And that was super cool because it was, for me, it was just like a kind of a culmination of, I've never gotten a chance to do that song with him, and it was just so much fun. That was like an amazing fun day.
No, it was cool to know that. Thanks for sharing that, and send him my compliments, please. I love Robert Tepper stuff.
Yeah, you should have him on. I could probably hook you guys up.
Entirely up to him. So maybe sometimes they don't want to do something like this, but I would treat him with just like I'm doing right here, respect and love. That's how I do the show.
Yeah, I'm sure he would love to do it, man. We'll talk about it.
We talk about it. Yeah, you heard it here first. He may do it. No. I keep looking down. I'm getting. I should shut this phone off because it keeps on. That's another thing about technology. Now you got phones that will. You have to learn to put those things down sometimes. But I just don't want to miss if my wife calls. You know what I'm saying? Can't shut myself out from the world too much, or I'll pay for it later.
You get in trouble, man.
Yeah. But some of those other tracks that you're talking about, "Feel the Mite," that's another one that's there's a little soulful edge to that one too, and I like that one. Some of these aren't, they may be deeper tracks, and maybe not the ones that you're putting out there to get more attention, like "God Save the City." But before we came on to talk about it, there's a track that you have on this album that is, well, let me just come out with it. Lee Marvin's Uzi. That's a nice. That's a nice and interesting title, but I understand that from what you said, it's not just a funny thing that just you made up in your head. There's a story behind that. Maybe you could share that with everybody.
Yeah, this is like a true folk tale, man. So, and it's weird how this bottled water job was also involved, you know. So, like I said, I was delivering bottled water in Tucson, Arizona, where it was like 100 degrees, and carrying these bottles. And the first route that I got, let me backtrack a little bit. In Tucson, like Lee Marvin was like a legend because that is where he ended up. After his Palimony suit and All with Hollywood, he was kind of done. And he's like, in Tucson also, there's a place called Old Tucson where they used to do a bunch of old Westerns and stuff. And I think that's where he first came out there. But so it turned out that one of the first days I got my own route was Lee Marvin was going to be in my route. So I was excited to, like, you know, maybe I'll get a chance to say something to him or talk to him. So the first time I went there, it was like a ranch style house, and it was like 7:30 in the morning, and I had my bottles, you know, on my shoulder and walking in there, and they usually like would leave the bottle out by the front door. So I was doing that, and I knocked on the door just to introduce myself. It's my first day, and I didn't want to have, you know, just him to know that, you know, that he has a new guy. But as I'm walking towards the door, there's a little wall there, like an adobe wall, and I look, and there's an Uzi just hanging out, just sitting there. And I had never seen one in my life, and to this day, I still haven't seen one in my life other than that one. So I was kind of like, oh wow, this fits into his narrative of his thing, because was a man's man. As an actor, he was one of the main guys who actually was in the war and fought, as opposed to these other guys. So anyway, so I knock on the door, and he answers the door, and he's got shorts and flip flops, and I'm like, hey, you know, my name's Brad Brooks. I'm your new delivery guy, and he, do you want me to, you know, put the bottle on for you? Like, yeah, sure, come on inside. So went in there and put the bottle on, and we just started shooting the shit for like 10 minutes, and I was asking him about singing, because I knew he'd sang like Paint Your Wagon and a couple of, but he's got this amazing voice that you just, you know, it's iconic. Yeah. And so we just started talking. I was asking him about singing, and he's like, oh yeah, I just did it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And and so we're kind of winding down the conversation, and I'm like, man, I got to ask you, like, what's the Uzi for, you know? And so at the same time that this was going on, there was a guy in Tucson called the Primetime Rapist, who was going around terrorizing kind of the town. And it was a big thing. Everyone was really had their, you know, hackles up as far as like what was going on. And so he goes, well, that's for the Primetime Rapist. Wow. And I was like, dude, he ain't coming here.
Yeah, and the Uzi was just sitting there freestanding, right? It wasn't like it was on display. He had it like he could just go grab it at any moment, and then it was like a tennis racket. Yeah, you know, just like sitting there. And so I got this moment with him, and it was amazing. And I've always kind of had it in my mind. And unfortunately, like within the year, he passed away. He had some complications from surgery. So I ran into him maybe once or twice, but that first time was pretty amazing. And then when I was, that song was one of the kind of the last ones that we wrote for the record. And it's got this kind of open tuning, kind of Keith Richards tuning thing that we use through an Echoplex. But the other thing is, to me, is that, you know, there's a band from Tucson called Green on Red that I grew up with in the late 80s, 90s. And they were an amazing band. And there's a little bit of that in there. And also a little bit of, Rocky Erickson and the 13th Floor Elevators, because I ended up doing when he passed away last year, I ended up doing a tribute show and playing some of his stuff. So the harmonica part is in there, and that kind of, to me, is like a little bit of You're Gonna Miss Me, that song. You know, there's like a real squonking harmonica part. So very nice. That was a long-winded answer. Great answer. I liked that. I wasn't expecting. I knew the story was going to be kind of interesting, but I didn't know it was going to be that good. I enjoyed that. Picturing your first meeting with Lee Marvin and what he said to you. It was morning, hotter than hell. had a sense of humor, right? He was when you were shooting the breeze with the guy. He was
Totally.
he was pretty nice to
just a
talk to,
regular
right?
dude.
Yeah.
He's just a regular dude, and everyone. He used to have this just a beat up old white Ford pickup, and you would see it around town because he'd be hanging out at bars. But you always knew that, like, oh yeah, there's Lee's probably hanging out, because he really was just he was a man's man in that era. But he was also just a dude who was just living in Tucson, enjoying just just being a guy. And I think he made a few movies when he was out there. Maybe his last one was like in the 85 or 84, I can't remember. But it was pretty amazing. But in Tucson, he's really kind of a legend, and you see a lot of kind of caricature pictures of him around town.
Yeah, so he's one of the guys in town that hey, you may run into him when he goes out to go to the store or something. Who knows? Well,
people did, yeah. I mean, I have some other friends who's like, his dad, my buddy's dad, was his mechanic, and he was just a guy, but a legendary guy.
Well, it's interesting you bring it, because I also did that in most of the 90s and into the 2000s. I was a bottled water guy too. So,
oh, no way.
And what was nice, I don't know if being somebody who writes songs or has music, do you have music in your head all the time? Do you have that type of syndrome where you just
no, I don't. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I have to kind of sit and get in this state of playing to, whether it's piano or guitar, playing to kind of let my unconscious get involved with it,
Yeah.
And but every now and then, but more like if I in a dream, that thing can happen.
Yeah. I think I wanted to share that we had that in common, because I found that whenever I was on a route, I would have that sort of that type of that experience, like you have like a shower. I got an idea for a song. I'm in the shower. I can't do anything about it right this second, or I'm driving. I would have these things constantly as I'm delivering the water. I'd be going from the house to house or business to business or whatever like that. I got to stop for a second, put this on. I have a little tape recorder with me, or I'd have that boom box with the recorder on it, and I have the cassette ready to go. Yeah, I had so many different ideas. Some things actually happened, but or I would flesh out the song later on as I'm just singing one of my own songs as I'm driving that truck.
Yeah,
my wife knows, because I wrote a couple songs about her in that truck. So
that's awesome.
I don't look at that back. It was great. I just got, after a while, I just gave it up. But you know how it is. When you find that I'm going to put this aside now. I maybe get a different kind of job, but it was too demanding physically after a while. And if you wanted to do like what you're doing, having a job to keep you supported is one thing, but if it consumes you and you don't have time for music and all the stuff that you really love, that becomes a problem. So it's a balance, isn't it?
For sure. Balance with family too, and work. And but that bottled water job was intense, and 100-degree weather, but it got me in really good shape, and the band I was in at the time was pretty physical too, so it was it kind of worked out. But that is a young man's job.
I haven't thought about it in a while, but I did. I just remember I delivered to John Wayne's house, but he had been dead for a long. He died in '79. I was doing this stuff later, but I remember that his widow still lived in that house, and the previous guy that had the route, he would tell me, he was an older guy, and he would tell me all this. He'd tell me stories of all the celebrities he used to deliver to down in Newport and Beach down here in Southern California. And so I would learn about that, but it's just fun. It's fun getting to talk. You know how it is. You get to talking with your customers and just shooting it for a while. Say, I don't have anything to do. Let's talk for a while. And sometimes you get some interesting stories out of them. And then I was always interested in some of the that band Sugar Ray in the 90s. There was a couple of guys that rented a house from this guy, and the guy who owned the house was telling me about it. I got a couple of these rock singers in my house, and I said, who are they? Sugar Ray Leonard or something? No, So I don't know. I didn't mean to go off on a weird tangent like that, but you know how it is when you have a route like that. You make some nice conversation. You meet some interesting people, and that's a good way to make a living if you can do it.
For sure. It's so funny you mentioned that because Mark McGrath is a friend of mine.
Oh, really?
And
Yeah.
we became friends. Now it's probably, oh shit, maybe it's 8 years ago, but 5 years ago when I went through my throat cancer, I was doing an event and we were doing it with him. We were playing some of his songs and he was singing and I was background singing. And so this was a night where I like kind of told everyone what was going on, and he happened to be there, and he did the most amazing thing was that he, and we've become friends ever since. He has a good friend of his who is head of oncology at UCLA Cedars-Sinai.
Oh, really?
And he said, I'm going to put you in touch with my friend tomorrow. And I want you to call him and tell him what's going on. And you can get like a second opinion, just through him without having to go through all the stuff. So,
oh, that's great.
So yeah. Mark, man, I love that guy. I mean, he's a great dude, man. And he'll always be a big part of, my journey in that way. And also we have twins. We have boy and girl twins. So we kind of bond on that too. But,
oh, great.
But yeah, that's a trip. It's funny that you brought him up,
It is kind of weird. And I don't want to be selfish and talk about him because I always, when I first started this, he was one of the guys since Orange County. I was always looking for Orange County bands to talk to, bring on the show early on. And surprisingly enough, none of them, I could never get a hold of them. There was some, Offspring, some of these other, who else am I thinking? Anyway, but enough of that stuff. But Mark McGrath was one of those guys. And I believe I saw him when I was doing my water route out there in Newport on, close to the beach, like in one of those numbered streets. And he was out there partying or talking with some people out there. And it was just kind of nice seeing him out there. And said, this guy, he's still kind of a regular guy. You just never,
totally.
Yeah, he never acted like he was full of himself, didn't take himself too seriously. They were just wanted to have fun. Yeah, but that house I was talking about was, I think, is one of his close side guys, the bass or the guitar player, rented a house over there, and the guy was telling me about it and says, "Oh, I know that band, sure." So you would never heard Sugar Ray? Yeah. Says, "Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely, I do." But anyway, enough of that. We need to back up because you sort of hinted. We never really talked about what happened. Tell us what went down that you had to seek out oncology. What happened?
Yeah. So it's been 5 years ago, and I went to the dentist, and I went to get an exam, and the dental hygienist there just kind of checked my neck, and she felt like a lump in my neck and my throat. And I'd always had a little more wear and tear on this side of my voice because I tend to kind of lean into it a little bit more on this side. So I didn't really think about it in that terms, but so yeah, she felt something that said, you should get it checked out and just to check it off and make sure. And so sure enough, I did. And it turned out to be HPV related head and neck cancer. Now, I didn't know anything about it, but this is a cancer that's coming up more and more in men and older men. And so once I found out, I was completely shocked, and my family and, my kids were young enough that they don't quite understand, which was great. But I didn't know what I was going to go through. And so what it turns out was I got operated. It's called a head and neck dissection, which never sounds good, but they basically cut you from here to here. And I had 86 lymph nodes taken out. And,
oh, wow.
But my recovery, I was able to get back to singing about 6 weeks later, which was amazing. In fact, I played a show in like 6 weeks afterwards. So that part was difficult. There's like a drain in your neck. And also what they don't tell you is that your shoulder just gets jacked up because you're having to kind of lay for 7 hours in this weird position. You're knocked out. but my surgeon was great, and I still am friends with him to this day, because I'm like, this is my livelihood, man. You got to be very careful in here if you can. And so, around this time is when we started this record, because I just didn't know what I was going to have as far as coming out of it. So I went and recorded maybe the first 4 or 5 some basic tracks, and we got a lot of it done, that part of it. And so I went in the studio with my band, and then after that 6-week part of the surgery, I had to do 30 radiation treatments. And so that was really the one that really just, I didn't have to do chemo, which was great, but 30 radiation treatments just knocks you out. I lost like 45 pounds. I didn't really have it to lose, but because you can't eat, you're drinking shakes, and the radiation is very gradual, and it starts, you basically, by like day 12 is when you're really starting to feel it. And your neck gets super sunburned. And in fact, if you look over here too, you have to wear this thing. You're kind of getting strapped to a table, and you have to wear this thing. It's kind of like this. And so you're sitting there for like 20 minutes with like lasers kind of, going through it. And so
that's incredible.
It's amazing what they can do, though, because they can pinpoint where to do it. And so I ended up doing the 30 days of that, and I was able to sing up to like day 12. I did this really crazy show. There was a guy here named Chuck Prophet, who's a great singer-songwriter out here, and he was doing 100th anniversary of City Hall in San Francisco, and having a bunch of different, Bay Area artists who way more famous than me, like playing from like Joe Biafra and some of the Tubes guys, and I got to sing Journey's Lights. That was like the one that I got to do. So that was like the last show I did that show, and it was really fun. And then after that, I shut it down for about 3 months. And then after that, it was really just like building back up my stamina to sing, but also just to to get stronger. It's basically like you can't eat because it hurts so bad, so you're having to take medication in order to drink the shakes that you need to do. And so
every time you have those treatments, you're getting like how do you feel? You get sick, or does it feel nauseous after a while? Or
no, I mean I didn't. It was just more. I didn't get nauseous, but I definitely got run down. And I was just listening to my body and mentally just trying to be strong, to just get through it. Now, I guess if there's any nice thing about having cancer, is that it's a 90% success rate. So that part is pretty good. I mean, it's always in the back of your mind though, but I've been 5 years cancer free, and so that's kind of one of the markers. And
a great
thing. But in the meantime, I'm like, man, I got to make this record and get it out, talking about, and also just to exercise the things that I was personally going through, but also I felt like that I was seeing, the Bay Area and the nation kind of going through at the same time. It's really kind of overcoming fear of my personal fear about going through cancer, and also just, just the fears that have been kind of pushed and seen in our country.
Yeah. Well, just your voice. I mean, was there fear as you're recording this? As you're getting back into singing, was there fear that you might hurt yourself? That you would, like, something would happen. As you're trying to heal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I would go through that, going like, I hope I'm not straining too hard or hurting whatever it was. What were these? What they find in there? Were there polyps, or was it just your lymph nodes had something that you couldn't?
There was two. There was. It's considered stage 4 because the 2 lymph nodes had been infected together.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is stage 5 is like the worst. So it's because of that. It's still pretty hairy. But like I said, they took them out, and the radiation was just more like a backup to make sure it doesn't come back. But as far as my voice goes, I mean, that's why, to this day, that's why I drink so much water, because it, your salivatory glands get fried essentially.
Yeah, it has to be.
So I'm kind of constantly hydrating. But I was very lucky. I have an excellent vocal coach, Raz Kennedy, who's out here, and he just was so great with me. He was like, come and see me like anytime and we'll build you back up. And he totally did. I had to kind of relearn to sing, and I think in a way it made me better, because I had to, make sure my technique was good within that. And then slowly but surely, it all kind of came back. And each year I would get a little bit more to where more of the delicate stuff would come back. Like there's a song on the record called The Chance, which is very sung falsetto, which I'd never done before. And that took a couple years for me to be able to get that back, get more of the subtle parts of the voice, as opposed to just the kind of more louder rock kind of stuff.
That's great. Well, all the blessings on you. I hope you stay well. I hope you continue to be cancer free. This is, you dodged it, and it's no accident, because you went and got an operation, and they took care of it, and you seem good, and your voice sounds good on the record. So I'm really glad that you're. I'm glad all the way around. It's an honor to be talking to somebody like you. That's oh,
well, thank you.
Hey, you're human. It happened to you, so you got to get through it. Humans are able to adapt in certain ways. So
for sure, and I hope that I can help people out along the way too. There was a friend of mine did a documentary called The Hard Road, which was kind of documenting what happened. And at first I wasn't sure that I really wanted to do it, because it's kind of the worst part of your life. And I had my kids involved too, and they were super young. But looking on it now, I'm really glad, because I think it can help people. And from what I've heard, that it has. But it was like, it's weird to get the worst part of your life kind of followed through, but I wanted to make sure that it was real, and that we were getting the full thing. And so my body changes, and that's the part that freaks me out when I see it now.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you can see that I lost like a lot of weight, and that I'm just, so that's the part that's a little shocking.
It is shocking. Yeah. When you're looking at it from your own perspective, it's kind of strange. Mm-hmm. There's a Brad Brooks has a site, it's bradbrooksmusic.com. And you can see that documentary on your site, right? Isn't there a link to it, or it's on there somewhere?
Yes.
And it's not a long documentary. It takes what, 15 minutes? It's a short one, but it's
it's like a 15-minute.
It's compelling. It is history. I'm trying to move a little faster. Brad's got to get going here, so I want to make sure. Real quick, you were talking about falsettos. Scared I Was. You seem to have you have falsetto and then some. You're all over the map with that one. So I was just it's not a shot at what you were singing, but I was just like, it's a piano, and it's maybe you can explain that a little bit, because that seemed like I couldn't tell if this was a sad song or Scared I Was sounds like it's sad.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Yeah. That song is really about it's really about the most honest part of my cancer stuff. Sorry, my son is walking in here now.
We have to go.
We're gonna go in just a little bit, bud. Okay. All right, give me a couple more minutes.
3:27.
All right, we'll be leaving. That song really is the most personal song on there for me, and I actually did sing that in the middle, not in the middle, but within the year of recovery, throughout that. And that's a song about my personal fear about what I was going through, and also there's a little bit about the country and what's happening in the world now.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a combination of that, but that was like one take, and I just was trying to exercise what I was going through, and I always like to have especially at the end of this is this record's out on digital and CD, but it's on vinyl, and that was very important that I wanted to have. That's why it kind of ends with a piano song on each side, because more for the grooves, but also like I like having like that intimate song at the end, and it's I don't know if it's sad. It's triumphant in the end, you know. And it's funny. We sometimes I've been starting the show with that song, just piano and me, and it's definitely, I see that it's resonating with people because, you know, I'm singing from a real honest point.
Right. And they feel that emotion and everything.
Definitely.
Gosh, you know, Brad, I wanted to talk to you about one more thing, but you know what?
Yeah.
Sounds like Brad has to, you know, take off this hat that he has right now and put on his dad hat. And
you know,
I can understand that. I've been in that situation where my kids were little too, and they love to just. At least.
Well, I could probably answer another question if you wanted to.
Real quick, Millionaires. Who's Jerry Becker? Is that who's singing with you? Explain why is he in there and what's this about?
Okay, so Jerry Becker is a really good friend of mine, and he is in the band Train, and so he has been playing with them for a long time.
Another Bay Area group,
and he's plays keyboards and guitar, and he's just a great writer and has been a really good supporter of my music since I met him. He's just a great dude, and we've always been trying to write with each other. And I was getting near the end of this record, and he was off tour for a little bit, and so we just started getting together, like, you know, every week and just bringing, and for me, like, he writes really fast, and I wish I wrote that fast, but I don't. And so it was really great to kind of co-write with him, come in with stuff, you know, kind of work out some ideas in a day, but our writing styles really fit together. And so we wrote Millionaires, which is kind of like, I like to think of it as like, you know, I love Ray Davies from the Kinks and his observations of society, and in a way that's kind of my observation of kind of I guess it's kind of a little millennial kind of you know, to the .com
maybe, yeah.
you know, kids who are like, you know, I'm working for this company, man, I'm gonna be a millionaire, and believe me, there are a lot of them, but it was a little, you know, a little jab in there, but that's a song that ends the first side, a piano song. And then Jerry and I wrote Feel the Mite, which is the co-wrote that song, which is the one you're talking about,
right.
And then a song called Angel of Angles. So he really helped me out.
Oh, nice.
You know, with like 3 songs near the end to get it done, essentially.
Working hard, playing hard, making it hardly. What do we get in the end? When is it ever enough? They will become millionaires. They will become extraordinaire. They will become millionaires for life. Building up, tearing shit up, shooting it up. What do we get from the end? What about everybody else? When is it ever enough? They will become millionaires. They will become somebody's heir. They will become millionaires for life. For life. All the time it's taking, winding, tasting the life. I deserve what is mine. They will become millionaires for life.
Perfect. Oh, great. Glad you squeezed that in. Okay. Let's Brad answer. I'll try to shorten the last question. I always have this traditional question. Other songwriters and artists who are hopefully relating to your story. Wait a minute. Hang on. We'll get you. Maybe you could just really quick, when you're creative type and you go through a real low point, we've all had them. Is there anything that since you may have experienced it, I don't know if you have or not, but what's the best thing you can think of that helps you sort of pull yourself up and get out of that pit of like negativity? Can you do that for yourself or?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's just, and especially, I mean, just writing songs, like having a song done just can brighten your day, right? And so I think for me, when I get into like a little rut, I tend to try to just sit with a notebook and just kind of write free form, just stuff that's going on, or it doesn't have to make sense. And I try to really open up like the just the unconscious part of me, because I feel like that the unconscious part is the smartest part for a writer, because there's just things that are out there that you can't get to until you're in that space. Like we were talking about Ray Davies, like one of my favorite quotes of his is that my unconscious is smarter than I am. And I totally believe that. And I think that like, just free form writing stuff, and if it doesn't turn to a song or an idea, then come back the next day and, be more disciplined about it. And I think that after a while, then things start to open up and melodies and words and all that thing. And I mean, I say that, but it works for me most of the time, but not all of the time,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. Thank you, Brad. Brad Brooks, everybody. BradBrooksMusic.com. All that stuff is going to be on there. You and I have contact information. We've been trading emails a couple of times. We'll get in touch with each other. That way, we can let you get on you and tell your son that the guy on Zoom tried his best to get you out of here as quickly as possible. So it's not Dad's fault. Okay.
Dean, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Me too.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it soon. We'll talk in the emails, and have a great day today. Thank you very much, Brad Brooks.
All right.
Take care.
All right, Dean. Take care, bud.
Okay,
have a
bye-bye.
good one.